thank you for joining us today. This is exciting developments in our quest to provide cheaper prescription drugs for folks in Florida. I want to thank Senator Stargell for being here, as well as Representatives Leak, Burton, Hawkins. Is Melanie Bell? I didn't see her. And Hawkins for being here. We also have our ACA Secretary Simone Marsteller, DCF Secretary Siobhan Harris, DBPR Secretary Julie Brown, and then we're here joined by the Chief Executive Officer of Life Science Logistics, Richard Beeney, and Vice Chairman of Life Sciences Logistics, Steve Solomon. People, I think, remember 2 years ago, we signed into law a bill to pave the way to be able to bring cheaper prescription drugs into Florida from Canada. Basically, these are the same drugs. You just get them for a fraction of the price compared to what you do in the U.S. market. And we did that because we understood the need that a lot of folks were feeling, and certainly the government. I mean, the amount of money we spend at the state level on prescription drugs is outrageous. And so we wanted to figure out a way where we could provide some access. And obviously, as a state, you're limited in what you can do in this realm because this is something that is heavily regulated by federal law. But we were able to identify a provision from a law in 2003 that passed the Congress, signed by then President Bush, never had really been utilized, but basically provided the ability with federal approval to be able to purchase prescription medications from Canada. So they didn't allow you to do it in any other country, but they did allow it to be from Canada. And so we felt that we needed to pursue this. So when the legislature and many of the folks there, like Speaker Oliva, were very supportive of it, obviously Tom Leak was instrumental in doing it. You know, they had this proposal. I was supportive because I want to do whatever way we can save money. I wanted to be able to do it. But at the same time, this was not something that Florida necessarily had a right to do. It was subject to federal approval. So I went and met with then President Trump, and this was 2019. And I explained to him what was going on. I explained to him you did have this provision of law. It had never been utilized previously. Is there any guesses why it wasn't utilized? Obviously, this is not something that big pharma wants to see because it disrupts the kind of the current market where we have a restricted market here and artificially high prices. So we met with him in the Oval Office, and I explained to him that over the past 15 years, we've seen 150% plus increase in the price of prescription medications. You're spending hundreds of billions of dollars on this, and we wanted to be able to access some of these drugs at cheaper prices. And literally is the exact same drug that is a fraction of the price as it is here in the state of Florida. So I met with them. He said that this is something that his administration would support. We passed the bill. I signed the bill, and we worked with then Secretary Alex Azar to develop an implementation plan. And so we signed the bill. A few months later, we submitted a comprehensive concept paper to HHS addressing all key components needed to safely import prescription drugs into the state. And HHS really used our concept paper in establishing the framework for their rule, considering Florida joined them in announcing that the federal government was proceeding with the rulemaking authority. Alex actually and I were involved with that. Over the past 2 years, we've taken proactive steps to lead the way, and we've worked on making sure that we have this program. After the federal government finalized their rule, we submitted our Section 804 proposal in accordance with all requirements to both HHS and FDA this past November. And when I signed the bill, I told people, this is the first step. There's a lot of hurdles that you have to overcome, but we've been doing it every step of the way. We recently updated the application to include additional documentation related to the foreign seller. The ACA, and you'll hear from Siobhan, you'll hear from Simone, they've been working to identify people, who we'd be able to contract with. So we're here today, and you'll hear from some of the folks on the logistics end as well. But we're here today This has been under review now for 6 months. We were told that if it wasn't denied last week that we should assume it's going to be approved. But, we want to get that final approval, because once we do, then all this stuff goes in motion and we're able to start realizing some savings. We think between the state level between $80 and $150 million can be saved by implementing this program. So we're proud of having taken the lead. There's a lot of states that have now followed. Most of them are not, or I don't think any of them are quite at the level we are in terms of all the things that we've done. You have had a couple other states, I think, have submitted some of these 804 proposals. Most states have not, but I think Florida can really be a leader in this regard. Now, in December, AHCA contracted with Life Sciences Logistics, we're here today, to assist the state in implementing the program. A lot of people don't know this, but in the U.S., we have a strategic national stockpile of pharmaceuticals to ensure that seniors and other citizens have access to medicines that they need in case of emergencies or supply chain disruption. For 15 years, Life Sciences Logistics has played a key role in that stockpile, and they have been a valued independent provider of healthcare supply chain solutions. So because of their work with the strategic stockpile, and I'm sure other clients, they were chosen by AHCA to work side by side with us on this project as we seek out the best subject matter expertise on how to simplify the pharmaceutical supply chain. We've worked with Life Sciences Logistics to ensure compliance with all federal requirements, including contracting with a foreign seller and constructing this world-class FDA-compliant facility right here in Lakeland, which passed inspection by the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation just last week. So we're standing here in an empty warehouse with our partners ready to begin final implementation to safely import these FDA-approved drugs into Florida at cheaper prices. It's been under review enough. We have followed every regulation. We've met every requirement that we were asked to meet, and we want now to be able to get this final approval so that we can finally move forward. And as I mentioned, you're saving just with the state tens of millions, maybe over 100 up to $150 million by being able to utilize this program. And our program is phased to ensure safety and compliance with all FDA guidelines, serving as the national model for these 20 other states who are pursuing this program. And I do think it's a total of 3 other states have submitted to FDA. So we want the Biden administration to approve this. We think if they act immediately, we'll be able to provide safe and effective drugs to drive down prescription costs here in Florida, and the taxpayer will be able to realize a lot of savings. So the time is now. Obviously, we can just sit on our hands and do nothing about prescription drugs. Instead, we decided in Florida to be proactive. We had limited options, and so we pursued the options that we had. But even those limited options will make a difference. And so it's now been an arduous process, and we warned about that because when you're dealing with the federal bureaucracy and rulemaking, that's just the nature of it. But we are at a point now where I think that getting approval will be very important for people in the Sunshine State, our taxpayers in particular. So I'm glad to be here. I thank the legislature for having stepped up and done this. It really led the charge nationwide. And I also want to thank Secretary Mary Mayhew was AHCA secretary when this happened, and she worked on those initial stages. So I want to thank her for her work. You'll hear from Siobhan Harris, who got the baton from Mary and really helped move it forward. And then now Secretary Simone Marsteller is doing it. So it's really been a team effort, and we appreciate everyone. So first I'm going to have Tom Leek, who was the main sponsor of the legislation in the House, come and say a few things.
Thank you all. I want to start by thanking the governor for the opportunity, and let's be clear. This was a fight, and you don't understand the benefit of having a governor in your corner like Ron DeSantis until you take on a fight like this. We were just talking, and when we proposed the bill, I remember the first committee stop, I had not a single lobbyist come and talk to me about this bill because nobody thought it could happen. By the second committee stop, I started to have appointment requests and people come and talk to me. By the third committee stop, pharma was flying in people from all over the country to call us killers, murderers, tell us how unsafe it was. But none of that was true, and they knew it. And ultimately, the legislature agreed. So thank you, Governor. It is true today that no drug, however miraculous, can help you if you can't afford it. Americans pay the highest price for prescription drugs in the world. An EpiPen in the United States of America is $646. It's $120 in Canada. Lyrica is $6.04 in the United States. It's 63 cents in Canada. They'll tell you it's unsafe. Truth is, they already know that 70% of the top-selling brand-name drugs are manufactured overseas today. 80% of all active ingredients in the prescription drugs that you're taking today are manufactured overseas. We could do this today. We need help from the federal government to get it done, but we can do it today. I was honored to lead this fight in the Florida House of Representatives. I was honored to lead this with Governor DeSantis, and I'm honored to be here today.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Yep, appreciate it. Thanks for your work. Okay, Secretary Simone Marsteller.
So we're here today because of Governor DeSantis' leadership and vision for our state's healthcare system to be more innovative, transparent, and of highest quality. From the beginning of his administration, he has led the charge amongst all of the nation's governors in identifying opportunities to lower the cost of prescription drugs. Governor, under your leadership, the Agency for Healthcare Administration and its agency partners, which include the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, Children and Families, Corrections, Health, and the Agency for Persons with Disabilities, all these agencies have come together to identify specifically opportunities to achieve cost savings for Florida's taxpayers while also providing safe and effective FDA-approved drugs to the Floridians that we serve. This team of agencies and staff within the agencies, alongside our other partners, primarily responsible for establishing what you see here today, this framework and this program, including developing the importation proposal that we're waiting on the FDA to approve. Also working collaboratively with Life Science Logistics, we have created a streamlined process to import, relabel, and distribute prescription drugs from Canada while ensuring that they continue to meet and exceed safety and quality measures. We've collaborated with our state and federal partners to forecast savings. You heard the governor mention potentially $150 million in savings for the state of Florida alone as this program matures. Once we're able to launch it, we will immediately be able to start tracking those savings. And Governor, I look forward to sharing this information with you and with our partners. From the very beginning, our team has worked to ensure compliance with the guidelines set forth by the FDA and U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And at this point, we're just awaiting the go-ahead. I want to take a moment to specifically thank, of course, all of my colleagues at the agencies that I just mentioned, but two in particular who are here today. Secretary Siobhan Harris. She's currently the Secretary at the Department of Children and Families. When she was at the Agency for Healthcare Administration, she really was the architect of this importation program. At a time when there was no precedent and no game plan, she and the ACA team created this framework from vision to concept to get us to where we are today, which is ready to launch. Thank you very much, Siobhan, for all that you have done on this project. And secondly, I want to thank Secretary Julie Brown from the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, because her team worked with the ACA team to help us understand what the regulatory framework would be for something like this. And this fantastic facility could not have been here and ready to operate were it not for the DBPR team. So thank you so very much for that, Secretary Brown. This is a program that can and should serve as an example for the other states who are either contemplating or planning to implement similar programs. I'm looking forward to getting this thing started and to working to continue to improve and increase the savings on prescription drugs for the people of the state of Florida. Governor, I thank you again for your leadership and your vision and for entrusting me with the ball to get it into the end zone.
Thank you. Okay, the architect, Secretary Harris.
Thank you, Governor. Before joining the Department of Children and Families, I worked at the Agency for Healthcare Administration, and under the governor's leadership, had the remarkable opportunity to be a part of the team that developed the state's Canadian prescription drug importation program. I know firsthand how hard the state has worked to develop a best-in-class model for safely importing prescription drugs from Canada that will result in tremendous savings to the state and ultimately Florida's taxpayers. The strength of our program, along with the partnership of life science logistics and all of the state agencies involved, solidifies Florida as a leader in this space. And I am so proud to have been able to be a part of this from the start. But more importantly, as the Secretary of DCF, I'm looking forward to continuing to work with Secretary Marstiller and her team to see that this program succeeds so that we may be able to realize true savings for the programs under my responsibility. High prescription drug costs are crippling to our healthcare delivery system. As a state agency that operates mental health treatment facilities, every opportunity for savings in healthcare costs means more dollars that can be diverted to enhance behavioral health treatment services for the individuals who rely on us most. Our state continues to be a trailblazer in finding innovative ways to better serve the citizens of Florida, and the Canadian Prescription Drug Importation Program serves as yet another example of the forward-thinking mindset of Governor DeSantis. I cannot end these remarks without thanking you, Governor. Thank you for your leadership, tenacity, and vision in bringing this initiative to our state, and most importantly, thank you for your unwavering support of our Floridians.
Thank you. Good job. Okay, Julie Brown.
Thank you, Governor DeSantis, for leading the way and pushing through bureaucracy and finding pioneering solutions to really lowering healthcare costs for Floridians. DBPR has been happy to be part of a collaboration of all of these partner state agencies to bring lower prescription drug prices to the public. And we do remain committed to ensuring that we have safe, secure, FDA-approved prescription drugs available throughout our entire state. Life Science Logistics, thank you. They were permitted by our Division of Drugs, Devices, and Cosmetics. And on behalf of the entire agency who's charged with the regulation oversight, and with a system, a very rigorous system that is already in place, we appreciating being part of this integral process of getting affordable prescription drugs to all Floridians. It's just another great day to celebrate the innovation and the leadership in our state. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we have Richard Beeney. You want to come up and talk about this facility and what you guys are doing?
So first of all, I'd like to thank the governor, Secretary Marstiller, Secretary Brown, Secretary Harris for allowing us the opportunity and entrusting us to bring their vision to reality. For the last 15 years or so as an organization, we've been managing approximately 3.5 million square feet of GMP-compliant space in the U.S. We've built out, as the governor mentioned, numerous facilities for the Strategic National Stockpile, other states, and some of the world's leading healthcare manufacturers globally. We have a large 3PL business where we do that part. And what you see around you is the result of all of that experience. What we think that the state of Florida, the governor and the secretaries have designed is the most efficient, the most transparent, and the most secure pharmaceutical supply chain in the country. We think that it is good for the state, we think it's good for manufacturers, and we think it's ultimately good for patients. The savings that we're able to generate by streamlining that process, in other words, going directly to the manufacturer, are going to be significant. And what that looks like is cutting out extra steps in the supply chain. No extra steps means that we can control the process from the point of manufacture through our rigorous and compliant testing and relabeling process into this highly secure facility. So if you look around you, you'll see lots of cameras, badge access, a perimeter fence, all of the things that you would expect to see as part of a warehouse in the healthcare supply chain that's as important as this. Again, we think this is a streamlined process. It's one that guarantees visibility. It's one that promises on the potential savings just because it is so streamlined and cuts out the extra steps. And again, we want to, so what you haven't seen here is we've created a whole back-end sort of IT infrastructure around this, because it's not enough to have a warehouse. You need to have a process for ordering the drugs, getting them safely delivered to agencies and patients, and there's a whole security protocol around all of that. We've leveraged the skill set within the organization that we've developed over the last 15 years to do that. We're proud of that offering. We're proud of what we've been able to do to help this initiative, and we'd just like to thank you and the secretaries again for your leadership, for your trust in us. We're proud to be a part of this initiative.
Great. Thanks. And they've got, I mean, it's really impressive to see just the efficiency, but they're have every step of the way, quality control, 100%. You know, the number one argument, and Tom Leak brought this up, people weren't expecting us to do this. When we did it, it kind of caught people by surprise. But man, within 2 weeks, they hired every single lobbyist in Tallahassee. I mean, it was unbelievable. You couldn't turn on TV without seeing an ad. I mean, I'm watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse with my daughter, and I see, oh, Governor DeSantis and his minions want to bring in these dangerous drugs from Djibouti or whatever. It was nonsense. But, you know, the argument that they were saying was, well, this is a safety issue. We have to do this because of safety. And look, if we were trying to bring in drugs from some you know, country that wasn't reputable, I wouldn't want to go down that road either. But, you know, Canada has the same drugs. They have very similar protocols, and then we obviously will then have our own process to ensure the quality. So the safety argument, when you're talking about an advanced democracy like Canada, it just doesn't pass muster. And as Tom said, most of this stuff is manufactured overseas already. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. And so we basically are addressing a situation where the U.S. taxpayer and consumer are effectively underwriting cheaper drugs for other countries. Canada pays artificially low. We pay effectively artificially high because our market's restricted and we can't get drugs from these other places. And so we end up funding most of the R&D that goes into drugs and all this other stuff. And, you know, we should be able to have access to drugs, you know, that are a little bit more reasonably priced, given almost every other country is able to do it. So I think that this is something that's going to give us an ability to do it. I really want to thank, you know, all the folks here who did it. I mean, you know, Siobhan was working on this when she was working for Mary Mayhew. Then she became the acting secretary, didn't miss a beat with it, really did a great job. And then Simone has carried the torch. And then to get this agreement, I mean, this is a very impressive facility. It shows we're ready to go. I mean, we've taken this very seriously. This wasn't just something we were doing to do. I mean, our goal is to see this through to fruition and realize those savings. So we're basically one step away. It's just a matter of federal government blessing this, and I think that a lot of other states are also very interested in this. So I'm excited we've been able to make progress. I said it was going to take time because of all the different hoops you got to jump through, but we never, and even during the COVID, ACA was still working on this. They had a lot of other issues, obviously, they were dealing with, but they kept pushing through with this. So we're excited. We're hopeful that we'll get a positive go-ahead here. And then what did you think within, you said about 90 days? Yeah, so then about 90 days, you guys come back here and you'll start to see the shelves stocked with the prescription medications, and that'll be a really, really good thing. So we're excited to be here. Take a question or two. Not if we win our case, they won't. Not if we win our case. That's the whole point. And nobody has fought harder, not just for cruises, but the entire leisure and hospitality sector in this state in its history than me. You go to any town and visit restaurants, and they will tell you, if I did not have the governor, if I had California or New York policies, I would have gone out of business. You look at hotels, you look at theme parks, you look at all this. We've been there and been the strongest advocate. What CDC has done by closing the cruise industry for over a year, 15 months almost, 14 months, they do not have the authority to do it. And so we're doing it because it obviously has hurt our state, but it's a larger issue than just the cruises. You cannot have just some bureaucracy that doesn't have the legal authority to do this, claim an emergency, and then shut down commerce. And so I can tell you this, all those cruise lines, if we win, they're going to be very much interested in doing the Florida business. And oh, by the way, we provided vaccine for a lot of their workers because they were so committed to doing out of Florida. But that case is in mediation right now. Maybe there will be a resolution. I mean, my view is ultimately, we want to vindicate the state's immediate interest with this, but there is a larger point, and I am confident we will win the case. We will win. We will write on the law. I think all the indications are that will be, and we will absolutely be upheld in the 11th Circuit. And so one way or another, we're going to get it done. We are going to enforce Florida law. I mean, we have Florida law. We have laws to protect the people and the privacy of our citizens, and we are going to enforce it. In fact, I have no choice but to enforce it. I took an oath to enforce the law, and you don't say pass laws and then not enforce it against giant corporations. That doesn't work that way. Everybody is equal before the law, and we will absolutely, enforce the law when it takes effect, which is not till July 1st, as you know. But we will do it, and we will do it fairly and vigorously. It hasn't been sent to my desk yet, so stay tuned. Well, do any of you want to speak to that?
So personal importation is legal within certain restrictions and requirements set out by the federal government. But commercial importation, which is what we're here to talk about this morning, is the pathway that we're trying to move forward on. No. Well, commercial importation through Canada in the sense of what we're describing here, we're first in the nation to try to move forward.
And there's definitely, though, I mean, I would imagine some of the personal importation probably is illegal because I think there's bootleg stuff. And,
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's Well, I mean, one of the reasons we're here is just make sure that Washington knows we're ready. And so once we get that go-ahead, everyone's standing by, ready to go. And you will see within 3 months, I mean, you'll see these shelves. And do you want to give an update on the sellers and whatever, or because I know you guys have been looking in Canada for a long time. Does anyone?
Yeah, I can talk to that.
Yep.
So one of the FDA requirements under the submittal is that we've identified a foreign seller. And basically what that means is who is the Canadian wholesaler that we will work with as we negotiate directly with manufacturers. We've identified that foreign seller as part of the recent submittal back to FDA. We have a good working relationship with those folks. We already have contacts and relationships with manufacturers. So we don't think that's going to be a hurdle at all, but it is a requirement of the SIP.
From the Biden administration, yeah. And look, we were told it's still under review. If it's not nixed by last week, then they said we were going to be okay. But we haven't gotten the affirmative to do it. And so that's one of the reasons why we just want to make sure it's clear to everybody that we've done the homework we needed to do. We passed all the tests. We've managed to do really not only do adequate plans, but do a plan that's been the model for other folks. Obviously, ACA's work to line up the logistics end, because you can have a right to do this, but if you don't have the logistical supply chain to support it, then it's not going to work. So we're ready, willing, and able, and I think that this could be really, really significant. It was not something, obviously, that the big pharma companies wanted to see, just simply because they've relied on American taxpayers and American consumers to fuel most of the profits, whereas they've been giving all these other companies, other countries, much cheaper drugs. And so we're looking for some equity here between the United States, in this case Florida, and between Canada. And also, if you look at Europe too, they pay less than we do as well. That's all based on government policies that are effectively restricting the market and creating a cartel. And so we're kind of going around that a little bit with this, being able to potentially benefit. And just think about it. I mean, 80 to 150, just say it's $100 million a year. I mean, that's a significant amount of savings for us. I mean, our budget, they appropriated a lot of the federal ESSER and rescue funds. That's obviously not going to be around next year. So, our budget will likely settle back around like 95, billion, 96 billion. So to save $100 million just off one program, that's a pretty significant savings. It may not be that significant in Washington. Maybe that's considered budget dust. But here, that's a really big deal for taxpayers. And then this will open up, if this successfully happens, I think it opens up additional possibilities for additional savings for Florida consumers. So we look forward to it. We look forward to seeing all of you back here in 3 months, hopefully, when those shelves are stocked. Thanks, everybody.